Hello, sports fans, and welcome to your first inaugural 2017 MLB season update. I felt like of all the videos to debut this channel with, we should be first focusing on the Major League Baseball season because they are in the middle of the playoff push. There are 7 days left in the season, and I think at the time of upload there may be 6 or 5 days left in the regular season. So, we're going to be covering the last week of September in Major League Baseball before we get to the playoffs. And let me tell you, this is shaping up to be one exciting playoff season here in Major League Baseball. What to expect from this video? Well, we're only going to be looking at the playoff contenders as well as the World Series prospects. So we're going to be looking at 8 teams that are World Series contenders, according to me and according to 538.com. And also, we'll get to it later, but there's a 9th team that has locked up a playoff spot, but they are not quite a World Series contender. They are a super long shot for that. And then there's one playoff spot left that hasn't necessarily gone claimed, and we're going to see 3 teams battling for that one playoff spot here in the last week of the season. So a lot of people are predicting that there would be more drama in the last week of the season, that there'd be a lot more division races and playoff races that'd be really heating up. But as it turns out, that's all we got this year, fans, is, 9 of the 10 playoff spots are filled with 5 days left in the season. And we just got one interesting playoff spot battle between 3 teams that'll be entertaining to watch. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. For every team, we're going to go over the strengths and weaknesses, as well as talk about individual players, what kind of seasons they're having. And let's get right into it with the big favorites to win the World Series as of right now. The Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians, not only did they almost win last year's World Series against the Chicago Cubs, but they are having quite the season this year. They started off slow. People were like, well, they're still good. They were playing average, but they didn't look like a World Series team. And let me tell you, they have been setting baseball on fire. They've had one of the greatest winning streaks ever. And outside of their massive winning streak, they have been winning consistently as well. So, even when they're not streaking, they've been winning 4 out of 5s and 3 out of 4s. And they are just coming into this playoffs hot as you can get. And the truth is, maybe they'll cool off. If they cool off just a little bit, then, it doesn't surprise me to see them get dispatched in the playoffs. But if they stay hot, then without a doubt, this is the team that's going to win the World Series. So they're projected to win 100 games. They're looking at 102 wins on the season. They've clinched the AL Central clearly. They're playing great. 538.com, link in the description, one of my favorite baseball analysis websites, has them at a 28% chance to win the World Series, which is a big probability this before the playoffs even started. I mean, to think 1/4 chance that the Cleveland Indians are going to be winning the World Series and we haven't even started the playoffs. There's still 12 teams that have a chance to win. I mean, it's crazy. Let's dive right into why they're so good. Well, for one thing, they have the 3rd best rotation in baseball, led by Corey Kluber, who's a big candidate to win his 2nd Cy Young Award. I think he deserves the Cy Young Award. Some are saying that Chris Sale should be the one that wins in the American League, but I think it's going to be Corey Kluber. Definitely having a career year. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, he won the Cy Young, and he's pitching much better than he was even that year, so he's just tearing up the baseball world this year. Carlos Carrasco has been good ever since he came to the major leagues. He's pitching fantastic. He's having an excellent season. He's a superstar pitcher to have as your number 2 option. Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer featured in last year's World Series. He's having a solid year. He's above average, definitely a very solid choice to have as your number 3 guy. And you even got a wild card here. We got Mike Clevinger. He got called up near the end of the year, and his 19, by the way, guys, the numbers that are being featured are called runs above average. They're from baseballreference.com, which is one of my favorite websites. Absolutely going to put the link in the description if you ever need any baseball stats information, baseballreference.com. So just so you know, the number in the parentheses is runs above average for all bullpen rotation offense, etc. Clevinger has a 19, and he's only played a portion of the season. He's better than Carrasco, and he's touching Kluber levels of dominance in his short stint so far in the majors. So Clevinger comes into the playoffs as a big wild card, whether the Indians are going to start him, how well he's going to pitch, whether he's going to run out of gas or if he's going to be a beast just like he's been so far. But man, that's one heck of a rotation. And you take such a great rotation, you back it up, you got the best bullpen in the major leagues, boys and girls. Cody Allen is the closer. He's pitching very well. He's a very solid closer, getting a lot of saves for this team, especially because they're always winning. Andrew Miller, one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. He's been one of the best relief pitchers in baseball for years now. He continues to be dominant. Absolutely incredible. Now we look at, we even got Brian Shaw having a good year. Dan Otero having a very solid year. Nick Goody having a great year. Zach McAllister, he doesn't even pitch in high-leverage situations. He's their long relief guy. He's been absolutely lights out in long relief. I wonder if they're going to be seeing him in the 7th inning or 8th inning, 7th inning or later. The Indians are going to use him there because he's just tearing it up. He's having a great year. Best bullpen in baseball, hands down. And that's because all of these players are having good seasons. All these players are going to be really good when they step on the field in the playoffs. And we top it off with the 6th best offense. They have a high-powered, big-time offense as well. They've got elite pitching. They've got the best pitching in the majors. And on top of that, they have a very good offense. Now you can quite understand why they're winning all these games and why they're looking so strong for the World Series. So let's dive in and unpack what this offense has been doing. All right, so we're starting off with Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is having a fantastic year. He's one of the top 20 bats in Major League Baseball. And not only that, he's been swapping between second base and third base. He's been doing it all for this team. He's batting .316. His on-base is .369, both very respectable. And he's slugging .580. He's got big boy power. He's hitting homers. He's hitting doubles. He's absolutely been incredible, and that's how he gets that 42 runs above average right there. Austin Jackson, he's got a little bit of a double play issue, but look at him. He's got a 8 runs above average, and I put him there because he just joined the team near the end of the season. He's currently playing center field for him, and he's been tearing it up. He's batting .324. His on-base is .389. He's slugging .500. Austin Jackson's a beast, and look for Austin Jackson to be a big reason that the Cleveland Indians go far in the playoffs. Francisco Lindor has been absolutely solid, batting .277, on base .338, slugging .514. He's got even better power than Ramirez, all right? And he's a productive shortstop. Keep in mind, shortstops are not supposed to be as good as Francisco Lindor is right now. He's got incredible speed. He's stolen 14 bases. He's only been caught 3 times. He's got the speed. He's got a decent glove. He's got pop. He's getting hits. He's getting on base. He's got a big slugging. Francisco Lindor is absolutely an animal. Lindor and Jose Ramirez carrying this team. Austin Jackson all over it. Now look, Carlos Santana's having a good year. Batting .260. On base .366. The dude's an absolute walk machine. Slugging like nothing you've ever seen. Slugging .464. He's a double machine. Incredible. Carlos Santana playing first base, having a good year. Now, Edwin Encarnacion, he only has a runs above average too, but that's because he's been playing DH all year for them. But when he steps to the plate, you need to watch out for Edwin Encarnacion. He's got some of the best power in Major League Baseball. He's batting .252, and he's on base is .374. He's walking like crazy. He's hitting homers like crazy. He's got a .500 slugging. The only thing negative about him is that he's playing DH, so you kind of expect that from a DH in Major League Baseball. He's got a little bit of a double play issue. So Edwin Encarnacion, absolutely incredible. The only weak spot for this team, obviously, is that they've had Jason Kipnis. Jason Kipnis has, for a long time, been the steady second baseman for this team. Right now, he's batting .229. His on-base is .284. He's been playing really bad defense, and Jason Kipnis is having an ugly, ugly year. And that's been the one weak spot for this team. And like I said, there's a lot of question marks here, okay? In right field, they've been playing Jay Bruce recently, and Jay Bruce is a little questionable. Not sure. He's going to have a good playoffs, all right? In center field, Austin Jackson's been playing there, but if Austin Jackson has to play center field, that's a bit of a fielding liability. You know who else they're playing in center field? Jason Kipnis. They have Jason Kipnis. They're experimenting with him in center field. If you see that happening in the playoffs, that could be a fielding liability and a hitting liability all at once. On top of that, left field, Well, that's where Austin Jackson's been holding it down. But if Austin Jackson has to play center field, they have Brandon Guyer in left field. Brandon Guyer's having a rough year. He's not doing much for you. Catcher, they have no answer at catcher. I don't even know who's playing catcher for this team. So, I mean, this team's got a lot of holes, but they've been playing hot. And that's the key here, is that if these players just continue to rake the ball, even the role players, then this offense is definitely very, very good, and good enough that, with pitching like that, you're going to go far in the playoffs, because playoffs all comes down to is your bullpen, your rotation. Can they keep you in the game? And if as long as they keep you in the game, bats like the Indians have, they're looking primed to win another World Series. Not another World Series. They're looking to win their first World Series in a while. But they're looking great. 28% chance there. Moving on to the other 100-win team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Right now, they're looking to win 103 games. They're going to be competing with the Indians to see who can win more games. They are the only other team that's looking like they're going to win 100 games this year. They've clinched the NL West. They're having a fantastic year. 538.com has them at a 15% chance of winning the World Series. That's nothing to scoff at. They're looking like they're going to meet the Indians in the World Series, is what it appears to be right now. They're the favorite in the National League, and deservedly so. Let's unpack the Los Angeles Dodgers here. Sixth best rotation in baseball. Clayton Kershaw, fantastic year. He hasn't even played the entire year, so that number that runs above average could be even higher if he had played the entire year. Clayton Kershaw, outstanding. Okay, Alex Wood having a great year. Rich Hill was a big star last year in the playoffs. Rich Hill's pitching very well. Hyunjin Ryu, lefty out of South Korea, having a very good year. When the Dodgers have been bad, Hyunjin Ryu has had some questionable seasons, some questionable months. He's definitely had ups and downs. He's had injuries. But look, he's pitching very well right now. And the Dodgers have a wild card in Yu Darvish. They traded for him. He's coming off of injury. He's pitching okay. But Yu Darvish has a chance to be another incredible pitcher if he finds it and if he starts throwing the ball like we remember Yu Darvish knows how to do. Very, very talented rotation here. Definitely. I mean, if Clayton Kershaw can perform in the playoffs, then that's going to be automatic wins for them. They've got an average bullpen, all right? They've got Kenley Jansen, who's just one of the best relievers in baseball, having another incredible year. Closer machine. Right now they have Pedro Baez pitching in high leverage situations as the setup man, and he's a little suspect, all right? Sometimes he'll give it up. Sometimes he's okay. Luis Avalon having a good year. Brandon Morrow having a very, very strong year. A lot to look forward to with Brandon Morrow. Fields, Stripling, I mean, that's the guys that are going to have to be pitching in the 5th, 6th, 7th innings for these Los Angeles Dodgers. And, they're okay. They're having okay seasons, but against some high-powered offenses, they could be blowing some leads. So this is an average bullpen. Brandon Morrow, Kenley Jansen, they're holding it up. And I want to see Brandon Morrow pitch in the 8th inning, or at least pitch, some long innings in the 6th and 7th. They need to use some Brandon Morrow. They need to hope that he pitches well, because this bullpen could be the downfall for them. Now, let's get to the offense. The offense is outstanding, all right? Justin Turner playing third base. One of the top bats in the league, batting .321, on base 414, slugging .534 with average power. Absolute beast of a year. You can't stop this guy. Corey Seager is out here playing shortstop, batting .295, on base .374, slugging .474. Incredible how good this guy's playing. Chris Taylor, they just called up. He's playing center field. He's fast. He's batting .289. His on base is .358. He's slugging .500. Another double machine. Insane. Chris Taylor having a fantastic year. Cody Bellinger. Are you kidding me? Cody Bellinger, he's only batting .274. He's got a solid on base at .356. His slugging is .600. Only Giancarlo Stanton is hitting more home runs than this guy. He's right next to Aaron Judge in the home run race. This guy's hitting home runs like nobody's business. One of the biggest home run hitters in the league right now. He doesn't hit into double plays. He's just an incredible bat. And to think this is the fourth best bat on this team, you understand why they're the third best offense in the league. I mean, that's incredible the way this offense is performing right now. Yasiel Puig is batting .260, on base .340, and he's slugging, all right? He's a good fielder. He's been having a very nice fielding year. He's got power. He's got a bit of a double play issue, but Yasiel Puig is just having a very nice year in right field, all right? Catcher, they've got Yasmani Grandal. They've got Austin Barnes. Yasmani Grandal's having a questionable year. His on-base is only .300, but he's been a very good fielder. He's having a career year as far as fielding goes. And Barnes has been playing more of catcher. His on-base is .400. To think that your catcher just, out of nowhere is having a .400 on base, absolutely amazing for Barnes. So even the catcher position, these two guys together providing big-time production. So that's why strong points for this team. Obviously, shortstop, Seager. Third base, Turner. Catcher, with the two catchers that they can switch in and out. Fantastic. Weaknesses for this team, first base. They've had Adrian Gonzalez playing a lot there. He's batting .240. His on base is a pathetic .285. Adrian Gonzalez is having a terrible year, and they don't have an answer at first base. That's going to be a weakness. Center field is their other weakness. Jock Peterson. He's batting .208. He's getting a lot of walks. Good for him. .324, slugging .400. I mean, that's all right, but he's having a rough time fielding in center field. There's a lot of suspect fielding happening there for center field, and that's going to be a big weakness. So what they're going to do at first base and center field is going to be a big deal come playoff time. We're going to have to see what they do. So that's the Los Angeles Dodgers for you. They're looking very, very strong as well. Next up, we're looking at the Washington Nationals. Washington Nationals, look at them. They've clinched the NL East. They're in the playoffs for sure. They've had a fantastic year. They're projected to win 98 games. They might even win 100 games if they get hot here at the end of the year. 538.com has their World Series win probability at 13%. 13% is big. I mean, 13% is definitely a real chance of winning the World Series. I mean, after all, they're third here. They're the third most likely team to win the World Series coming out of the NL. They're probably going to be a big challenge to the Dodgers. So let's take a look at what the Nationals are packing here. They've got the second best rotation in baseball. This rotation's mind-blowing. Gio Gonzalez is having an insane year. All right, Gio Gonzalez has never pitched this good in his life. Max Scherzer might actually be on pace to win the Cy Young Award. Max Scherzer, I mean, his best competition is his teammates, and that's crazy. Max Scherzer is absolutely fantastic. Steven Strasburg is by far the best third pitcher in baseball right now. Strasburg is lights out. Tanner Roark likely to be coming out of the pen. Maybe he'll pitch in the playoffs as well. Definitely could see it happen. He's having an average year. He's a very good pitcher, and he could be absolutely incredible out of the bullpen. So this rotation is just mind-blowing. Big stuff from all of these starters. I don't even know how to say which one's the best, which one's the worst out of Gio, Max, and Steven. It's just going to be a day-to-day thing, but all three of them are really tough matchups. They could all be aces on this team, and that's insane. Bullpen, all right, Matt Albers. They've got a very average bullpen. Matt Albers has been doing the closing. Actually, I stand corrected. They've got Sean Doolittle doing the closing for this team. Ryan Madsen's been pitching the 8th inning. They got these guys in a trade, and it's working out well for them. It gives them a chance to have a really solid bullpen. Throughout the season, they've had an average bullpen, but they've got a potential for a big-time bullpen. In low-leverage situations, Joe Blanton's been pitching. Joe Blanton's the reason the bullpen's getting dragged down a little bit. He's having a terrible year. They acquired Brandon Kinsler. They acquired Doolittle. They acquired Madsen. All these guys are really, really strong arms to use. And he's not going to be pitching in the 8th or 9th inning, it looks like, but Matt Albers is having a career year. He's having one of the best relief pitcher years right now in baseball. And he's absolutely incredible. His ERA is below 2.5. It's something scary low. And he's not even their closer. They're resorting to Madsen and Doolittle for that. So look forward to Albers pitching some big innings in the middle of the game. If those starters ever come out, because those starters are insane too. They've got a very good offense. It's not crazy good. It's not as scary as some other offenses, but it's very, very good. Anthony Rendon's batting .300. His on base is .400. He's playing a great third base. He's slugging .536. He's absolutely the star of this team. And the reason he's a star of this team is because Bryce Harper's had some injuries and he hasn't been playing as much. Otherwise, his runs above average rating would be right next to Anthony Rendon. He's batting .326. He's slugging .614, and he's one of the top 10 home run hitters in the league right now. He's hitting home runs like crazy. Bryce Harper, big time stuff. And the last thing is their shortstop, Trey Turner. Trey Turner's absolutely fantastic. He's batting .281. His on base is .333. He's slugging .451. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's got 42 stolen bases. He's only been caught 6 times. To do all that at shortstop is insane. To have that as your shortstop is incredible. So those are the strong points for this team. Rendon, Harper, Trey Turner. If they do damage in the playoffs, you got to watch out because this team's going to be so scary. On top of that, we're going to unpack Michael Taylor. Michael Taylor's been playing outfield. He's been a very strong outfielder, batting .271, on base .317, slugging .475. I mean, geez, this is incredible. Wilmer Difo. Wilmer Difo's been playing some second base. He's been playing a little bit shortstop. He's a utility guy. He's batting .277. And he's been playing some fantastic fielding. And he's got some speed off the bench that they could use for pinch running because he's got 9 stolen bases, only 1 caught stealing. That's been magnificent. Ryan Zimmerman. Ryan Zimmerman's been playing first base. He's had some bad fielding at first base. He's not exactly a good first baseman fielding-wise, but he's batting .300. His on base is .360. His slugging is .563. He's one of the top 10 home run hitters in the league. He's literally right next to Bryce Harper in terms of home runs. That's insane to think about. Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy's been having a bit of a down year fielding-wise. His fielding is killing him. But the dude's batting .316. His on base is .377. He's crushing it. You know, the only thing that kills his team is that they've got some fielding issues there with Zimmerman and Murphy. I mean, Murphy to be your second baseman, that's questionable. Murphy's definitely hurting the team at second base. Zimmerman's hurting the team fielding-wise at first base, but they're hitting so well. So you look at the strengths of the team, absolutely. For these guys, it's third base, right field, shortstop. You know, but if you look at the weaknesses, this team has the worst catchers in Major League Baseball, okay? Jose Lobaton and Matt Wieters are the 2 catchers, and they both have absolutely atrocious years, and they're not even playing the entire season. They can't figure out which one they want to play. At this point, they've settled on Matt Wieters. I mean, Jose Lobaton's batting .152, on base .231. It's a total joke. I mean, poor guy. Poor guy's just having a horrendous year. So they've settled on Matt Wieters. Matt Wieters isn't even a good fielder anymore. Maybe he's an average fielder. He's batting .225. His on-base is .283. He can't even get his on-base above .290, and he's slugging .347, and that's holding back this offense. I mean, that's a big weakness at catcher. Left field's been a disaster for them. Jason Worth has been playing there right now. He's batting .226. His on-base is .322. I mean, that's ugly stuff from Jason Worth. And I don't know if he's going to be playing left field come playoff time or if they're going to have to experiment with something else. But that's a big problem for this team. They definitely should be worried about that. And that's what holds back this offense. This offense is, like I said, you look at these guys, very high-powered, but the fielding is suspect at times. The catcher position, the left field position, horrendous. And it's just not that good. It's limited, but definitely a lot of potential to do big things for the Washington Nationals. Now we're going to move on to the 4th best team here, 4th most likely to win the World Series. The Houston Astros. They might win 100 games. I mean, it's incredible how many teams we have this year that might win 100 games. That's why we're going to have a very exciting playoffs. They're projected to win 98. They've clinched the AL West. They have a 12% chance to win the World Series. They are no joke, and you're about to find out why they're no joke. 12th best rotation in baseball. Dallas Keuchel is an excellent ace. Former Cy Young winner. He's been having a great year. He's a great year. Brad Peacock, out of nowhere, having an amazing year. And they just got Justin Verlander. He's been pitching he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last month. We'll see if he stays hot. But Verlander, he's been having ups and downs. He's had some rough years over the last few years. And right now he's pitching insane for the Houston Astros. Absolutely insane. We'll see if he stays hot. And then another wild card is Colin McHugh. They just had him start pitching again, and he's pitching very well. He's pitching almost as well as Keuchel and Peacock. So it's like this team has a lot of powerful playoff pitchers. So over the course of the season, they've only had a above-average rotation, but with the Verlander and McHugh addition, this rotation is looking filthy come playoff time. We'll see. There are big wild cards there. The bullpen's been very suspect. Let's take a look at this bullpen. They've had Ken Giles do a lot of the closing. He's been a very solid closer. Devenski, he's the 8th inning guy. He's having a very good year. Both these guys are fantastic relief pitchers. and the Houston Astros shouldn't be worried about that. What they should be worried about is if they can't get to the 8th inning, if they can't use just Devenski and Giles. Literally, Will Harris is all they got. Will Harris is having a very good year. Gregerson has been suspect. Tony Sipp, Michael Feliz, James Hoyt, all these guys they've used for big innings throughout the year, and they've been really, really bad. So they can't touch any of these guys. So they've really got to make sure that Harris and Gregerson pitch well in the playoffs, because over the course of the year, this bullpen's been terrible. Come playoff time, you know that they won't be using Tony Sipp. You know, if you see Tony Sipp or Michael Feliz come out to pitch in the playoffs, boy, I'd be scratching my head. You better cross your fingers for those guys. But that's the thing about the playoffs, is that you won't see Sipp and Feliz pitch in big innings, but Harris and Gregerson are going to be so key to how well this bullpen performs. They're going to need to pitch some great innings. Otherwise, that's a big weakness for this team, and I think that's what's going to cost this team a World Series, potentially, is that if they don't make it to the World Series or if they aren't able to win one, it's because the bullpen's lacking. Will Harris and Luke Gregerson have to be pitching well. Woo. And let me tell you, boys and girls, the best offense in Major League Baseball. We're going to really dive into this because this offense is incredible. Start with Jose Altuve. I mean, this guy's having quite the year. If he wins the MVP, he deserves it. He's definitely got a chance. He's batting .346. His on base is .409. He's slugging .555. That's because he's got power. For once, he's got above average power. We were so used to Altuve not doing much in the power department. Now he's batting .346 and hitting jacks. And he's fast. 32 stolen bases, only 6 caught stealing. Altuve is doing it all. Carlos Correa, right next to him is shortstop. Carlos Correa is also a beast. He's hitting home runs. He's got great power. He's hitting a lot of home runs. He's batting .302. His on base is .379. His slugging is .520. Carlos Correa, incredible. Those are the two big strengths of this offense. I mean, they're lighting it up. Josh Reddick, take a look at Josh Reddick. He's batting .317, on base .366, slugging .488, having a great year. Josh Reddick's incredible. George Springer is just as good. Batting .284, on base .365, slugging is .522. This guy, George Springer, right now is hitting home runs, as well as Bryce Harper, as well as Ryan Zimmerman. He's hitting home runs, in the top flight of the league. This guy's having a fantastic season. That's exactly what you want. He mixes between center field and right field, and between him and Reddick, kind of playing center field and right field, I mean, that's one of the strengths of this team, right next to Altuve and Correa. Marwin Gonzalez. Take a look at Marwin Gonzalez. I can't even tell you what position this guy plays. He's the greatest. He's the best utility man in the league right now. He's been a utility guy for most of his career. A guy who's known for being able to play all these positions. This year is doing it fantastic. Marwin Gonzalez is in the starting lineup, but you have no clue what position he's going to be playing. And he's got big power. He's batting .296. His on base is .367. He's slugging .521. I mean, this team's got 4 people slugging over .500, and one of them's freaking Marwin Gonzalez. I mean, we're not used to this. He's got really, really good power. He's hitting a good amount of home runs. That's crazy. Crazy to think that he could pull that off. Alex Bregman. He's got a bit of a double play issue, but he's holding it down. Holding it down at third base, batting .279, on base .351, slugging .459. I mean, that's another position they're just incredible at. Jake Marisnick's been playing a little bit of center field. He is batting .243, not very good. On base .319, not very special. He almost slugs .500. This guy is hitting home runs better than Bryce Harper, better than Ryan Zimmerman, better than George Springer. This guy's hitting an insane amount of home runs. Jake Marisnick has, ridiculous power here. And I don't understand how, because this guy has not been a home run hitter for a long time. And he's blasting homers out of the park. And to have that from a center fielder, it's incredible. So he's not a big plus to the team, because he's definitely lacking on getting on base and getting hits. But boy, oh boy, if this guy hits a home run in the playoffs, don't be surprised. If he has a fantastic playoffs, don't be surprised. Lastly, I mean, all those are strengths for this team. This is why this is the best offense in the league, because they've got talent up and down the lineup. Last thing I'll get to is the weak spots. And one of the 2 weak spots is catcher, because Brian McCann is an average catcher. I mean, that's how great this offense is. That the weak spot is that they have Brian McCann and Evan Gattis kind of mixing it up at catcher. And McCann's doing well fielding-wise, and he's not hitting too well, but that's incredible that that's one of the weak spots. The only serious weak spot is the designated hitter position. They've had Carlos Beltran been playing DH for most of the year. Whew, this guy's having a rough year. He's definitely getting old. He's batting .231, on base .280, slugging .388. That's rough. I mean, he's seriously, especially from the DH position, that's what kills me. He's having a terrible year hitting, and he's doing it from DH. But I don't know if they're going to have somebody else play DH. I mean, they certainly have a lot of room to do something else in that position. And we'll see if come playoff time, Carlos Beltran's sitting on the bench, because he's definitely got a lot to work on, having a pretty ugly season. So, but hey, that's the only weakness. I mean, this team is so stacked. They totally deserve to be the best offense in the major leagues. And that's why you got to watch out for the Houston Astros come playoff time. Moving on, we're going to be looking at the Boston Red Sox. They're the 5th best team in terms of the World Series win probability. They're projected to go 95-67. They're going to win the AL East. It's almost certainly locked up at this point. They would have to go on a terrible losing streak. And they got an 11% chance to win the World Series, so you got to give them a shot. They got a serious chance to pull it off. So let's take a look at why. Start with the rotation. Chris Sale. A lot of people are saying Chris Sale is going to win the AL Cy Young. I think Corey Kluber is his main competition, but Chris Sale's having a career year. I mean, he did it with the White Sox. We knew he was capable, and now he is with the Red Sox, pitching just as well. This guy's a total stud. Drew Pomeranz is having a really nice year. He's been pitching great, so Drew Pomeranz is a weapon. Eduardo Rodriguez is a very viable number 3 option. He's definitely going to be pitching well. They got David Price, who's going to be coming out of the bullpen. He was a starter earlier in the year, but he's got arm issues. He's had some injuries, so they're committed to making him a bullpen weapon. Doug Fister. It's going to be tough for the Red Sox, so they're going to have to figure out if they want to give Doug Fister some action. He's having a below-average year. He's a questionable starter, and they got to decide whether they want to roll with a 3 or 4-man rotation come playoff time, because that's going to be tough to play Doug Fister. Moving on, that's still a very solid rotation. I mean, when you're anchored by Sale and Pomeranz like that, that's going to be big. It's going to be tough to overcome those two. We'll see how well Pomeranz pitches come playoff time, but he's having a great year. Bullpen. This is the 2nd best bullpen in baseball. They've been working on it, and it's just an incredible bullpen. Craig Kimbrell, clearly one of the best closers in the league. I don't know how this guy keeps doing it, but he's having another one of those years where Craig Kimbrell is not going to give up a lot of runs. You do not want to have to, be down 1 in the 9th. Joe Kelly coming out of the pen. Joe Kelly's having a great year. Joe Kelly's definitely a weapon. Look for him to be the 8th inning guy on this team. Let's see. Joe Kelly, actually, correction. Joe Kelly does not pitch a lot in the 8th inning. Maybe they'll start using him there, but in high leverage situations, they've been using Addison Reed, who's having an average season. He hasn't pitched much. I think they acquired him via trade. That or he's been injured. But he hasn't pitched much, but they're going to make him the 8th inning guy, and he deserves that. I mean, Addison Reed has had a lot of great seasons. He's got a lot of potential to be a great playoff pitcher. They use Scott as well in high leverage situations, as well as Hembree. I mean, they've got a lot of weapons. That's what makes them so good, is that Scott and Hembree are both having average seasons, and they're dangerous. Considering that you can have all of these different guys to pull out and use in your bullpen. I mean, we haven't even talked about Fernando Abad, who's a big lefty. He's having not a great year. He's having a good year. He's pitching well. He's great for your 6th or 5th or 6th best bullpen guy. That's fantastic. We even got Barnes. I don't know if Barnes will get a lot of action, but he's having a good year. So it's pretty interesting to see all these guys that they could use in the playoffs. Like I said, Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly hasn't been used in later innings because they're making him the long relief guy. If Doug Fister gets bombed and they got to have somebody pitch innings 3 through 6, Joe Kelly will do that for you. He'll do it pretty well. David Price, can't wait to see what kind of a weapon he is in the playoffs. It's going to be very interesting to see how well he performs when he comes in, and how much the Red Sox are willing to use him. This bullpen has got no weaknesses. I mean, it's just, obviously it's not perfect, because they got a lot of, average pitchers, a lot of guys you could score runs off of, but it's so full of good pitching that it deserves to be ranked this highly, and they're carrying the Red Sox. Offense, they got a pretty average offense. We're gonna break that down. Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is having a great year. He's only batting .263, but he's got an on-base of .342, slugging .456. It's above average with the bat, but he is one of the best defenders in the league. Absolutely should be a center fielder, but they also happen to have a great fielding center fielder on this team. So in right field, Mookie Betts is having like one of the best fielding seasons we will see in a while. And I feel like his only competition historically is himself. I mean, Mookie Betts is like so good in right field. That's where most of that value comes from. And he's a very good base runner. 24 stolen bases, 3 caught stealing. Mookie Betts is one of the best right fielders in the league, even if his batting average and on base don't show it. Right behind that, Jackie Bradley Jr., very solid, in fact, amazing defense in center field. Otherwise, Mookie Betts would probably be playing there, but Jackie Bradley Jr. is amazing at center field defense. He's batting .250, on base .328, slugging .416. Good hitting, great defense, valuable center fielder, especially to have that in center field. Andrew Benintendi having a good year, batting .276, on base .357, slugging .430. Definitely a big-time productive bat from left field. That's why the strength of this team is just the whole outfield. Bradley, Benintendi, and Betts, the 3 Bs. They are a very solid outfield. They're the reason that this isn't a bad offense, because after this, it gets a little questionable. Start with Pedroia. Pedroia's doing okay. He's batting .300. He's on base as .373, slugging .401. So he's lacking a little bit of pop. He's kind of limited himself to being a singles hitter. And that's why he's kind of playing an average year. He's Dustin Pedroia, you know? It's good for the Red Sox that he's hanging out at second base. Definitely not a weakness. Christian Vasquez. Christian Vasquez highlights one of the weaknesses of this team is right now they have a slight weakness at catcher. All right, Vasquez is batting .298, on base .336, so he doesn't walk that much, slugging .420. He's pretty average. But when he isn't playing, Sandy Leon's in. Sandy Leon's a good defender, and that's the reason you'd ever see him in is because he's got a real solid arm. But with the bat, he's been costing this team. .223 batting average, .291 on base. It's kind of sad. So Leon and Vasquez are the catchers of this team, and for a playoff team, it's definitely not impressive. And the weaknesses get a little bit deeper, too. They got a bit of a weakness at first base. Mitch Moreland batting .245, on base .326. Definitely limits them. You can see he's got a -3 there. Xander Bogaerts. He's been playing shortstop for them. He's fast. He's got 15 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing. If he gets on base, watch out for that. But he's costing them defensively. He's only batting .270, on base .340. He's slugging under .400. He's hurting them a little bit at shortstop. And Chris Young. He's not only is he a bad defender in the outfield, but he's batting .230 and his on base is .322. So if you see him playing in the playoffs, that is not good news because this guy's having a rough year. And it kind of shows that the bench isn't very deep on this team. And he's kind of notable because he had a lot of playing time throughout the year. And that's why that kind of drags down the offense. But if Benintendi can stay healthy and he can be the strong left fielder for this team, hopefully Chris Young won't be playing big at bats in playoff time. The last thing we got to highlight is Hanley Ramirez. Hanley Ramirez has been playing first base, I believe, for this team. And regardless of where he's playing, his bat is hurting. Batting .241, on base .321, slugging .427. He's got the pop. He's doing some good hitting doubles and triples. But he's just, for a first baseman, you can't have that low production at first base. You need something better at first base. My apologies. He's playing DH. He's playing DH for this team, and that's why one of the weaknesses of this team is DH. Because Mitch Moreland's playing first. Mitch Moreland is a good defender at first, so he's that's one of the reasons he's propped up. He's only a -3. He's defending well. But that's one of the weaknesses is Mitch Moreland at first, not that special. Their third baseman, I don't even know who's playing third base for this team. That's a weakness. First base, DH we got Hanley Ramirez hurting the team. I don't know if he's going to be playing DH, but they don't have a lot of other choices. And obviously catcher. So this offense is very average. It's got some big pluses, some big negatives, but the offense is going to have to play well if they want to get to the World Series. Moving right along from one contender to the next, the Chicago Cubs. Last year's World Series champions. They're projected to go 91-71, so very good year. But they only have a 9% chance to win the World Series. They're kind of in there as a team that could do it, but not a lot of people are expecting them to. They've almost got the NL Central wrapped up. And let's break down what's going on with this team. First of all, they got the 14th best rotation in the league, and this Cubs rotation is very interesting. Kyle Hendricks, fantastic. Still, great year. Jake Arrieta is having a very good year, but it's not as great as we're used to, and it's not the Jake Arrieta that dominates, and that's going to be something that shines in the playoffs. If he can't pitch well, it hurts the team because he's their second option. Jose Quintana, well known as a very good starter. He's having an average year. He's pitching well. Now, the big question here is that last year John Lester factored into the playoff push. And right now John Lester's having a bad year. Just a bad year. Not very like him. As well as John Lackey. John Lackey's having a below-average year. Both these guys are costing the team. And that's why they have an average rotation. It's because Lester and Lackey are just bringing the team down, dragging them down, having rough seasons. And I don't know if some, local people that know what's going on with the Cubs, I don't know what their playoff rotation is going to look like. But if Lester's in there, he's going to need to pitch a lot better than he has been in the regular season. If Lackey's in there, that could be a liability. Quintana definitely would be a worthy pitcher. So this rotation, if the Cubs are going to win the World Series, this rotation needs to play much better than the way they're listed right now. Bullpen as well. The bullpen's very average. You take a look. Wade Davis is closing right now, and Wade Davis is a very good closer. You definitely you want to trust Wade Davis. He's solid. Carl Edwards Jr., he's been playing really well. He's kind of the setup man, and they use him in very high-leverage situations. He's having a good year. Pedro Strop is having an above-average season. He's pitching very well from the bullpen. Those are the three guys that you see most often. Brian Dunsing and Mike Montgomery, both having years just about as good as Wade Davis. Surprisingly, both these guys have not been used in very high-leverage situations. They've been sort of used in the middle of games. They haven't come in to pitch any big outs. But they've been pitching really well. So that's going to be a key for the Cubs, is whether these guys can continue to pitch just as well as Wade Davis and how that turns out and how often they get used. Because it says this is an average rotation, but that's because they've been giving big innings to guys like Hector Rondon, who's dragging him down, Justin Grimm, who's been definitely dragging him down. He's having a really rough year. And they've been dragged down by people that you won't really see very much in the playoffs. So this has potential to be a really solid bullpen. If Montgomery and Dunsing continue to pitch well, Edwards and Strop continue to be useful in the 7th and 8th innings, this has the potential to be a very, very good bullpen. But over the course of the season, it was average. I mean, there's no standouts. Wade Davis is your closer. We've used to Wade Davis having really strong seasons, really great seasons, but this one's just good, Not one of the best closers in the league right now. Now, the big reason the Cubs are in the playoffs is their offense is continuing to be fantastic. They got the 4th best offense in the league. Starting with coming off an MVP season, Chris Bryant. He's got really good power. He's batting .292. He's walking like a machine. He's got a .406 on base, slugging .533. Having a great season. He's going to be the big-time hitter for the Cubs. Anthony Rizzo. You've seen him before. He's a good fielder. He plays a really solid first base. And he's got even better power than Bryant. He's got very, very good power. He's batting .278, on base .400. He's getting walks like crazy, slugging like a beast, .518 slugging. Rizzo's having a great year. Wilson Contreras was a gem at the catcher position. He's a good fielder. He's batting .273. His on base is .350. He's slugging like a beast, .504 slugging. Wilson Contreras is hitting home runs with the best of them. He's having a really solid home run hitting year. And between Contreras, Rizzo, and Bryant, that's a lot of power, a lot of pop. And those are the strong points of this team, is the corners with first and third base and catcher Wilson Contreras. These guys are powering this offense. They're powering the playoff push, and they're really solid. Addison Russell doesn't hit into double plays a lot. He's a great fielder, holding down shortstop really well. His batting is suspect. He's got 246 average, 313 on base, slugging 422. He's got a little bit of pop. He's doing okay with the bat, and his fielding is outstanding. So for a shortstop, that's really good. That's what you want. Javi Baez. Javi Baez has been playing a few different places, but wherever you put him, he's playing great. He's got a 270 batting average, on base 316, slugging 475. Baez has got above average power. He's been hitting a good amount of home runs. Look to see him play mostly second base, a little bit of outfield possibly. Strong suit for this team also is Javier Baez. Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward was really having a rough go last year's playoffs. He's coming back. It's not the Jason Hayward we're used to, but he's fielding fantastic. He's not hitting into double plays. His batting is okay. He's batting 260, on base 325, slugging is only 384. So he's kind of held back by his bat, but he's a great fielder. He's going to be playing right field for him, and he's definitely a plus for this team. Now we get to the negatives. The negatives for this team is center field and left field. Center field, they really don't know what they've been doing. They've played a lot of different center fielders. Maybe Hayward will slide over, but right now it looks like they do have a little hope in a guy named Ian Happ, who has big power off the bench, or maybe starting in center field. He's got really big power. But outside of that, he's not hitting that well either, and he sort of looks like their best choice there in center field. Happ also has a double play issue, and that's kind of a weakness for the team. Throughout the year, they've been experimenting with all sorts of center fielders. They don't even have a set center fielder, and that's the best they can do. Left field. Left field's the only other weakness for this offense. I mean, keep in mind they're still very, very good offense, 4th best in the league. So the weaknesses are center field and left field. Left field, it's partly because of Zobrist. Zobrist has been playing a little bit of left field. He's been playing a little bit of second base as well. Batting 233, on base 322, slugging 370. That's a rough stat line, and it's been a rough year for Ben Zobrist. Just not playing well. And then when Ben Zobrist isn't playing left field, Kyle Schwarber's playing left field. And Kyle Schwarber's pretty interesting. He's a big liability in left field. His glove is really bad. If they have the opportunity to use the DH, they better use it with Schwarber, because he needs to be a DH. In left field, he could hurt you. And his bat has been bad too. I mean, 207 batting average, 313 on base, 466 slugging. His slugging is about the only redeeming quality. Schwarber, magically, amongst all this, is hitting home runs among the best in the league. He's having an incredible year for home runs. And that's about the only thing he's doing for you, is he's hitting a lot of homers, and maybe he'll hit some really clutch home runs in the playoffs. But the rest of his bat and his glove has left him as a fat liability out in left field. So that's the Cubs. Their rotation needs to play better. Their bullpen needs to show that they're better, and their offense needs to stay strong. And they've definitely got a solid, 9% chance of winning the World Series. But it's definitely not the same Cubs team that rolled through the playoffs last year. And especially since the playoffs seem a little bit more difficult this year, I would say that they have to go beyond what they were last year to roll through this competition to make it to the playoffs. I mean, even just the Nationals and the Dodgers in the National League. Those are teams that the Cubs will have to overcome even before they get to the World Series. So we've covered all 6 division winners, okay? So now we get into the wild card teams. And these wild card teams, they have to play that one game free-for-all against a different wild card team, and they might not even factor in the playoffs at all. But these are 2 wild card teams that look like they have a really strong shot at winning the World Series if they can get to the playoffs. We're starting with the New York Yankees. The Yankees are projected to go 90-72. They've got a real small chance of winning the division, but it looks like they're going to be a playoff team. And their World Series win probability is sitting at 6%, which is low, but the thing is, if they can get out of the wild card, which is really a toss-up game for them, if they can squeeze by that, their chance is going to go up to at least 10 or 11%, and they become a serious World Series contender. Let's break down why. They got a 5th best rotation in the Major League Baseball. They've got a great rotation. Luis Severino, out of nowhere, is having an amazing year. He's the ace of the staff, and I hope that he pitches the wild card game. He might not. I don't know if the Yankees are going to go with anyone else, but it definitely seems like Severino deserves that. He's been having a great year. CC Sabathia. We thought he was done. He's had some ugly years, but he's back and he's pitching really well, and that's rejuvenizing this team. I mean, this team needed a guy like that, a guy like Sabathia, to just come strong and have a really good year. Montgomery's come out of nowhere. He's pitching really well. All of this for this is a really, really solid core 3 rotation. And on top of that, there's Sonny Gray as a wild card. They traded for Sonny Gray, and he's pitching amazing. He's had less time with the team, and he's still got 8 runs above average. He's pitching better than Sabathia, better than Montgomery. So you're going to see him factor into the rotation, and that makes a really good rotation. That makes the Yankees really dangerous if they get out of the wild card spot. Hopefully they do, but anything can happen in the wild card. Big time rotation. Now we're moving on to the bullpen. Guess what? For the Yankees, their bullpen gets even better. They got the 3rd best bullpen in the league. In high leverage situations, they have 3 elite arms that they turn to. First of all, Aroldis Chapman. They traded for him a while back. Aroldis Chapman's having an above average year. He's had some limitations, but I mean, come on, the guy still throws 99, and he's a weapon when he comes into the game. So Aroldis Chapman, look out for him. Dellin Betances, he's been in the league for a while. He's been an elite arm for a while, and he's having a real solid year. Dellin Betances is going to be a weapon coming out of the pen. David Robertson, right next to that. He's been a Yankee. He's been a Yankee for a lot of years, and he's very good out of the pen. David Robertson, Betances, Chapman. Big time 3. You don't want to see any of those guys in the late part of a game, and they can use all 3 of them. And on top of that, Chad Green. Chad Green has not been used in the 9th inning or the 8th inning very much, but in the innings they've used him, and he's pitching so great. He's having one of the top relief pitching seasons in baseball, and that's been a big boost for these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see if they want to use Chad Green in the later part of the game, or if he's going to come in early. If he's going to come in the 5th, 6th inning for relief pitching, from these starters. He's going to rescue these starters from tough situations, but he's a big threat. I mean, he's having such a great year. And Jason Shreve's down there. After these big 4, you got Shreve, who's pitching above average. He's having a good year, and he's going to be a good relief pitcher. So this bullpen is really stacked. They got a lot of really good players to turn to. They've been pitching great all year, and the pitching for this team is scary. From that rotation to that bullpen, not a lot of room to score runs against the Yankees. Moving on to their offense, you'd think that them being a wild card team, their offense is going to be the weak part of the team. And sure, it's only the 7th best offense, but that's really good. And the offense is just as good as the other stuff on this team, and that's incredible. So let's unpack the New York Yankees offense here. And we got to start with the sensational Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is having quite a year. Not only is he a good fielder, out there in right field, he's playing very well. 280 batting average, 415 on base. Guy's a walk machine. He's getting so many walks. 600 slugging. It'll be interesting to see if he actually gets 600. He's a 599 right now. Slugging is out of your mind, out of my mind. I don't know how to describe it. He is hitting 50-plus home runs. I think he just passed 50 today. I mean, Aaron Judge is insane. Just insane, having one of the top years in baseball this year. And he's a rookie. It's crazy. But there's got to be something behind him. And the other strong point of this team is left field, where Brett Gardner's hanging out. Brett Gardner could be playing a little bit of center field as well, but he's been really strong in left field. He's been an elite left fielder. A great fielding left fielder. Batting .265, on base .350, walking like crazy, and slugging .424, which is real solid, and he doesn't hit it in a double play. So Brett Gardner's a big plus all across the board. He's hitting well, he's walking, he's fielding well, he doesn't hit double plays, he's doing it all. Those are the big strong points for this team, is right field, left field. Shortstop, also, they're doing real well. Didi Gregorius, you can see he's got a 16 runs above average there. He's batting .287. He's not getting a lot of walks, though. He's only on base .320, but he's got pop. He's got above average power. Surprisingly, Didi Gregorius is having a good year for hitting home runs. He's slugging .487, and that's pretty big to have that as your shortstop. So Didi's playing great at shortstop. The other benefit of this team, we haven't touched on him, but he's hanging out there right next to Aaron Judge, is the catcher position. The catcher position's got Gary Sanchez hitting an insane amount of home runs. I mean, an absolutely crazy amount of home runs. He's overshadowed by Judge, but he's having a crazy year. And he's batting .280, on base .346, slugging .534. He's a beast at catcher. And the only reason catcher isn't one of the big strong points of this team is actually because they have Austin Romine as the backup catcher, and he's having a terrible year. You can see him there at the bottom. He's got a negative 15 runs above average. His on-base is .275. He can't even get his slugging percentage over .300. It's sitting at .292. And when he plays, that drags him down pretty hard. And he's having a rough year. But as long as Gary Sanchez is playing catcher in the playoffs, that's a big strong point for the Yankees. And let's take a look at what they're weak at. To start with first base, they don't really have an answer at first base. They've played with so many different first basemen. They started the year with Chris Carter. Chris Carter, I don't even think he's on the roster anymore. And right now they're rolling with Greg Bird. Keep in mind, in the hunt for the playoffs, going into playoffs, it seems like their plan at first base is Greg Bird. And in a brief part of the year, here's what he's doing. He's batting .167. On base .269. He's getting a lot of walks at least. And slugging .349. He's just a big liability at first base. And that's a weak part. That's a weak thing for this team if that's their first baseman. Another talented player we got to unpack is actually Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is going to be playing center field. He's having a little bit of an injury problem right now. But the reason Gardner isn't playing center field is because Aaron Hicks is a great center fielder. He's having a great year fielding. He's batting .265. His on base is .367. Slugging .463. Aaron Hicks is another big plus. I mean, Aaron Hicks is just the kind of guy that powers this offense by being there in center field. Right now, he's not playing there. He's having injury problems. If he gets back and he's playing healthy in the playoffs, that's big for the Yankees. Weaknesses, we're going back to weaknesses. Second base, I'm not sure what they're doing at second base. They're messing around with Starlin Castro, and he kind of forgot how to field. They don't have a lot going for them there. One thing to mention is at third base, they just got Todd Frazier. He's playing well. He's got big-time power, and he's kind of helping the team at third base. And the last weakness is the last guy here on this slide is Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday's been playing DH for them the whole year, and he's got good power. He's hitting a good amount of home runs, but he's batting .230. His on-base is .320, slugging .428. Hitting into too many double plays, and he's big liability. He's just not playing well. So, I mean, that's the Yankees. They got a lot of pluses. They got a lot of weaknesses, a lot of negatives. It's going to be interesting to see them play the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see them in the wild card games. For example, I want to see what kind of lineup they're going to have for that wild card game. Good, interesting stuff with the New York Yankees. Moving right along from the New York Yankees. Actually, I do have one point to make about the New York Yankees. We're going to go back to them. They are clearly a better team than the Boston Red Sox. And the sad thing is that they're probably not going to win the division. So you got to wonder, how did this team with all of these big-time stats, top 10 rotation bullpen offense, not win the division to the Boston Red Sox? And that's why I left this thing here at the bottom. The Red Sox are 15-3 in extra innings. And although that means they're clutch, although it means that their bullpen is really talented, you are not supposed to be that good at extra innings. That is definitely luck influenced. I mean, it's just how it is. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it happen to teams where they get really clutch one year. And if the Red Sox have to play any extra inning games in the playoffs, that's going to be interesting to see if they keep the streak going, because they have been insane at winning games that go to extras. And that's really it. That's the difference between them and the Yankees. Otherwise, you'd see the Yankees winning the division, and the Red Sox would be very much in the wild card position. So that's kind of the explanation there. But moving right along past the Yankees, you have another wild card team in the NL, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They clinched the NL wild card, and they're a lot like the Yankees, where because they have to get past the wild card, their World Series probability is only at 4%. But if they get out of the wild card, it's looking good. It's looking like 8-9% chance to win the World Series. They're going to be a contender. They're projected to go 94-68. They're definitely in the NL wild card. And we're going to start with the best rotation in baseball. This rotation is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Zach Greinke, getting paid big money, had a rough year last year, having an insane Cy Young caliber year this season. He is pitching so good. And believe it or not, Robbie Ray is pitching better. Robbie Ray and Zach Godley are both pitching better than Greinke, And the only reason they have a lower runs above average is because they've only gotten like 24, 25-ish starts to Greinke, who's pitched the entire year. And Robbie Ray and Zach Godley are pitching. It's just incredible. It's incredible how good they are. Because, prior to this year, a lot of people haven't heard of these two. And there's a lot of people watching this video that haven't heard of these two because, they don't follow the Diamondbacks. And it's crazy to have this big three. And outside of this three, Taijuan Walker having a really good year. Patrick Corbin having a really good year. One of these guys is going to turn into a big weapon out of the bullpen. And definitely one of these guys could be a very viable, talented fourth starter. And it's incredible. Just that big three. That top three. You'd never know if they're going to be that good in the playoffs. They might slip, but that is an insane rotation. I mean, that is the best rotation in baseball, flat out. Greinke, Ray, and Godley. I don't know what order they're going to pitch, but that's a brutal matchup against all three of those guys. So it's going to be really fun if they can get past the wild card to see how many runs a team's able to score against them in the next round. The bullpen's really good. That's what's incredible here is that Archie Bradley coming out of the pen. Bradley is pitching in high leverage situations. He's pitched 70 innings this year, which is a lot for a bullpen guy. And he's mind-blowingly good. Absolutely insane. And they're not even using him as a closer. They're using him as a setup man, and they're using him for big innings because he used to be a starter, so he can go big 2-3 innings at a time. The closer on this team is actually Fernando Rodney, who's very average as a relief pitcher, and for that to be your closer, it's a little scary. It's definitely a little scary with Rodney. If it's the ninth inning with a one-run lead and Rodney's coming out there, you still expect him to take care of business, but like I said, he could give it up. He's an average pitcher. He's having an average year. He's 40 years old, but maybe he's got some playoff bones. Maybe he's got some clutch. And outside of that, Archie Bradley's the reason this bullpen is so good. He's mind-blowingly good. I mean, he's just absolutely incredible. Every time they need someone to pitch, they go to him. He's playing great. Chafin and De La Rosa, both coming out of the pen, really good options for the Diamondbacks. They're gonna be good in the playoffs as well. McFarland is actually having a terrible season, but they're using him in low leverage situations. So if you see McFarland's coming in, that's really bad news. But I don't expect to see him much in the playoffs. And he's sort of the big negative on this bullpen. But outside of that, this is a great bullpen that the Diamondbacks have, and that's going to be, if Archie Bradley pitches 3 innings in a playoff game, expect those to be 3 clean innings, and that's huge for the Diamondbacks. And now we're going to get into that offense. Diamondbacks have an average offense, which, isn't good, isn't bad. And their pitching's what's carried them to the wild card spot, and their offense is good enough. We're going to start with, obviously, the big highlight. Paul Goldschmidt is having a career year. Look at this. He's great at fielding. He's stolen 18 bases with 5 caught stealing. So he's fast. He's a great base runner. Outside of just stealing bases, he's a great fielder. He's like an amazing first baseman. He's batting .307, is on base .413, and he's slugging .583. That's big, because Paul Goldschmidt is hitting home runs out of his butt. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt is hitting a lot of home runs. After that, J.D. Martinez. J.D. Martinez, big-time stuff. They traded for him. He's got a bit of a double play issue, but he's batting .293, on base .363, which is a little low. And with a .293 batting average, his slugging is .742. He is a .740 slugging percentage. You want to know how? He's hit 27 home runs in 52 games. This guy's averaging a home run once every 2 games, and he's only played like a third, sort of like half of the year with the Diamondbacks, so his number really should be 30. And that's going to be huge for the Diamondbacks. J.D. Martinez was a big pickup, a fantastic trade for them, and he's just lighting it up from right field. He's hitting home runs like nobody in the entire league. Nobody in baseball has been hitting home runs as well as J.D. Martinez over the last month. And if he can keep it going, I think he has to keep it going if the Diamondbacks want to have a shot at winning the World Series. After that, we got A.J. Pollock. A.J. Pollock's a strong center fielder, batting .264, on base .330, slugging .472, so even he's got a little bit of pop. He's a good fielder out in center field. He doesn't hit into double plays. That's everything you want from a center fielder. David Peralta. David Peralta's been playing a little bit of left field. He's also a good fielder. He's batting .300, on base .351, slugging .448, doesn't hit any double plays, and like we said, good fielder. So he was playing right field before Martinez got there. Now he's moving to left, and he's going to hold it down really nicely in left field. Prior to this, left field was a question mark. It was one of the weak spots of the team. The strong parts of the team are clearly first base, right field. That's what's up. Left field was one of the weak spots of the team, but with Peralta is there as a solid left fielder, okay, we can cross that off the board. The other options in the outfield, questionable. Really, really sketch, That's going to take us to Jake Lamb. Jake Lamb's having a bit of a bad year. He's hitting home runs. He's got pop. But outside of that, .250 batting average, .356 on base, .481 slugging. It's a good line. It's a really good line. But he's a terrible fielder. He's killing the team at third base with his fielding. He's just a terrible, terrible fielder this year. And obviously, .250 on base, it's not that good. So he's an interesting third baseman, but he's kind of one of the weak spots of this team. Is him as the third baseman, he's going to have to pick up his own weight and hit some big clutch doubles and homers. Otherwise, he's hurting. Gregor Blanco's the way you say it. Blanco is having a weird year. Usually he's the star fielder, and he's having a bad year fielding-wise, actually. He's not helping the team fielding. He's batting .240, on base .324, and it hurts. His team's hurting fielding-wise. To have Blanco, he's the fourth outfielder. He was the reason that left field was a question mark, is because he was playing a lot of left field. And if you see him in the game, that's a liability for the Diamondbacks. He's not doing very well. So Blanco, there's a lot left to be desired. Daniel Descalso, another guy off the bench that is just undesirable. He's batting .240, on base .334, slugging .401. So he's been hurting the team. He's been dragging him down. He's the utility infielder, but he's not a good bat off the bench. And the last weakness for this team that we haven't quite covered is at catcher. At catcher, they have Chris Herman and Chris Iannetta. Chris Herman has been having a terrible season. He's batting .174. His on base is .267. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. Slugging is only .330. When he's in a catcher, it's a huge liability. He's really bad. But they do have Chris Iannetta. Iannetta's been playing really well. He's been fielding well. He's been hitting with power. And as long as Iannetta stays in there, catcher won't be such a big problem because he's above average. It's just Herman that kind of makes catcher a liability. And if Chris Herman's playing, oh boy, that's rough. So that's the story on the Diamondbacks, one of the wild card teams. Boom. Moving right along. This team's interesting. The Minnesota Twins, they are having a good year. They're 99% chance of getting the wild card, so they're locked in. They're the wild card team that's probably playing the New York Yankees. It's going to be the Twins versus the Yankees. One of them's going to get into the playoffs. The other one's going to get dropped real quick. And here's the thing. They are clinched the playoffs. They're projected to go 85-77. They're looking real good. They're having a good year. But their World Series chances look slim. And that's really because they're good, but they're not as good as the rest of the AL playoff teams. Let's hop right into the team here. 24th best starting rotation. They have a bad starting rotation. Ervin Santana having a great year. He's a perfect ace, and he's going to be tough for the Yankees if he starts in the wild card game. But outside of that gets real scary. Barrios is having an above average year. Mejia's having an average year. And in the playoffs, if that's what you're rolling with, they might get beat up. And so that's a pretty rough second and third option. And for the fourth, both Bartolo Colon and Kyle Gibson are having bad seasons, but we've seen much better from them. So maybe either of these guys can really turn it on and have a great playoffs. But their liabilities during the regular season, and it's gonna be questionable. So you see that rotation. Ervin Santana is awesome. After that, there's a lot left to be desired, and the bullpen isn't going to rescue the rotation. This is a bad bullpen. They don't have any, stud closers. They don't have a Kimbrel. They don't have a Jansen. They don't have an Andrew Miller. Their closer is Rogers. And Rogers is good. he's good. But obviously, he's sort of like Fernando Rodney. If that's your closer, After that, they use Belial in high-pressure situations. In fact, Belial's been doing some closing. And if Belial comes out in the ninth inning with the close on the line, oh boy, I mean, he might have a rough go at it. He's having a below-average season, and Rogers and Belial are the two guys that the Twins use in high-leverage situations. If they want to step up this bullpen, if they want to do well in the playoffs, Busenitz and Hildenberger, two guys that have not been used in the 8th and ninth innings, and you may want to start giving them some more high-leverage situations because these guys are having real good years. They're having strong seasons of relief, and that was mostly, in the middle of the game, not near the end of the game. So if they can come out, maybe rescue the starters, pitch some great innings, it gives the Twins a shot. But after that, I mean, Rogers and Belial, that's what you got. Tyler Duffy, bad year. Ryan Presley, bad year. Both these guys are bullpen options that they might have to come into the game, and they're rough. So that's the whole thing about the Twins is they've got a pitching, both starting and bullpen, that holds them back, and it's going to be they're going to need to step it up for both the wild card game and the playoffs. At least the offense rescues it. Let's jump right into the 9th best offense in the league. That's the reason this team's in the playoffs. So the Twins offense, led by Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton's doing it all. He's having one of the best center field fielding seasons in baseball. He's such a plus fielder. He's just a plus fielder. He doesn't hit into double plays very much. That boosts him. He's got 27 stolen bases and 1 caught stealing. So he's fast. He doesn't hit into double plays. He's an amazing fielder. His batting line leaves a little bit to be desired. 253, 316 on base, 420 slugging. But everything else is so good that Byron Buxton's just an incredible center fielder to have. Brian Dozier, holding down second base, having a good year. We're used to seeing him hit the ball well, home run wise, and he's doing it again, having a good year as far as power is concerned. Batting 262, on base 350, he's walking a lot, and he's got a big slugging, 480 slugging percentage. The only thing is he's holding back the team fielding at second base. His fielding this year's been below average. So that's dragging him down a little bit. Joe Mauer, keep in mind that as a first baseman, we kind of expect first baseman to do well. So he's only got 10 runs below average, but he's having a great year hitting. He's batting 308. His on base is 384, slugging 421. So he doesn't have a lot of pop. He's a singles hitter. But he's fielding really well at first base, and he's getting a lot of hits. He's getting on base a lot. It's a really helpful guy to have at first base. Miguel Sano currently is injured, but assuming he comes back from injury, he's a big deal. Batting 267, on base 356, but the slugging is 514. And Miguel Sano's hitting a lot of home runs. He's got a lot of pop. He's hitting a lot of big-time home runs, and Miguel Sano is all about that. So when he comes back from injury, he's a big help to this team as well. Not exactly, getting a lot of hits, but he's a good hitter. And I believe Sano's the DH. Grossman is. At catcher, Jason Castro, having a good year. He's batting 233. His on base is 327, slugging 375. You wouldn't expect it to be that good, but his hitting isn't what it is. He's a really good fielder at catcher. He's a really good fielder catcher, and his hitting, he gets enough walks to pass by, and that's why he's a plus on this team. Eduardo Escobar, he's been playing a lot of different places. I believe right now he's playing third base because Sano is out, so he's been playing a lot of third base. Otherwise, he's the utility guy. He's a bit of a liability. His fielding, questionable, but he's batting 250. His on base is 308. Slugging is 440. So his hitting isn't the problem. It's kind of a little bit below average, but not that bad. And his fielding is a little bit weak, but he's a utility guy there, Eddie Rosario's been playing right field. He's got good power. He's batting 287. His on base is only 327 though, but his slugging is 504, so he's swinging the bat real well. And again, it's his fielding that holds him back. He's having a pretty ugly year fielding wise. And the DH is Robbie Grossman. Robbie Grossman only batting 250, slugging 368, and the problem is his on base is 368. The problem is that his slugging is 390. So for a designated hitter, you expect a lot more out of him. So even though he's getting on base pretty well, he's got not a lot of pop, and he's kind of a liability the designated hitter spot. Off the bench, they do have Kenny Vargas, who isn't listed here, but he's got good power and he's a good, useful hitter for pinch hit situations. And the strong parts of this team is catcher, like I said, Jason Castro. And Jason Castro and Joe Mauer have both been playing a little bit of catcher, I believe. And Byron Buxton, obviously. But, this team doesn't have a lot of strong points. And what makes this team great is that there's no weaknesses. Every position, they've got somebody who's decent. Somebody who can hit the ball well. Somebody who can do just enough. There's no, big glaring gaps. There's no terrible players that are forced to play. The team's very, very fluid all through the lineup. And that's the strength of this offense, is that there's nobody here that's, superstar, but there's no weaknesses either. And that's why they're the 9th best offense. They've got a very good offense, and the offense makes up for the lack of the bullpen. And that's why the Twins have a shot. But here's the thing about the Twins. They have to play the Yankees. You know how good they are. Even if they beat the Yankees, then they have to play the Indians, the best team in baseball right now. And even if they beat the Indians, they have to play the Houston Astros just to get to the World Series. I'm assuming it's the Houston Astros. Might be the Red Sox. But they have such a tough road that their World Series chance looks real bleak, considering how average of a team they are. But and now we've talked about 9 teams, and there's a 10th playoff spot. The other NL wild card, the team that's probably going to play the Arizona Diamondbacks, the team that is going to play the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NL wildcard game. We're not going to go over these teams in depth. I'm just going to talk about them as an overview. Keep in mind, all 3 of these teams have very little chance of winning the World Series because they have to get to that wild card. Then they have to beat Zach Greinke or whoever the Diamondbacks are pitching is going to be elite. And then after that, then they're in the playoffs. Then they have to beat some of the best teams in baseball just to get to the World Series. So all these teams, it doesn't look too good for them to make the World Series. But we'll go over them. Whichever one of these teams makes it to the playoffs, we'll be sure to go over them more in depth. We'll talk about, their matchup against the Diamondbacks. But to start, the team that's probably going to come out and make into the playoffs is the Colorado Rockies. They're projected to go 87-75. They have a 76% chance of claiming that wild card. They have a really good rotation and a really good bullpen, which is crazy for the Rockies. Usually they have terrible pitching and a fantastic lineup. And, their offense is actually a big weakness. They don't have a lot going for them on offense. It's their offense that's really holding them back. It's a below-average offense, below-average lineup. But the pitching has been great. The pitching has been so great that it gives them a shot. And it even gives them a shot in the playoffs because, pitching can carry a team to the playoffs. So they're the team that's probably going to end up in the wild card. The other team, Milwaukee Brewers, they're projected to go 85-77. They have a 14% chance. So they're a pretty small chance of making the playoffs. And this team, I don't know how they ended up so low because they deserve. Might be because their division was really hard and they had to play their division a lot, but this team deserves to be in the playoffs. They have a really good rotation, a really good bullpen, and an average offense. And I don't think we're going to see them in the playoffs. But if they do, I think this team's got the best chance to go far in the playoffs. The rotation, the bullpen, the offense, all solid. And the Milwaukee Brewers are definitely the team that's the biggest threat to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they've only got a 14% chance of claiming that wild card. And they've had a really good year, but it looks like it's going to go to waste. The last team, St. Louis Cardinals, they have a really slim 11% chance of getting in the playoffs. They're projected to be 85-77, and they have a really high-powered offense. Their offense is 5th best in the league. And they've got a lot going for them offensively. They got a lot of really talented young offensive stars. Their farm system has done really well for them. And the pitching isn't bad. The pitching's all right. And this team, they could do something in the playoffs too. I mean, their offense is really good, and their pitching's good enough, So it looks like it's going to be the Colorado Rockies. But it could be the Cardinals, could be the Brewers. Like I said, Cardinals have an 11% chance. So that's the wild card race that you should keep an eye on. Cardinals, Brewers, Colorado Rockies. 3 teams, 1 wild card spot. Only less than a week left in the season. Pay attention to see what happens. I know for a fact that if the Colorado Rockies keep winning, they're going to lock up the wild card spot. But if the Rockies lose, then either of these teams winning that's gonna shake it up. That's gonna be a really exciting end of the season. So one of these teams will be in the wild card, and that really concludes today's video. The last thing I have to say is a week from now, at the end of the MLB season, we're going to go over every single team in baseball, do a quick little recap of how their season went, who had a good year, who had a bad year, what went wrong with this team, what was great about this team, what was bad. We're going to look at everything. We're going to look at all the teams in baseball. We're going to do a full season recap. So come back next week to watch that. This was just looking at the playoff teams, looking at the World Series contenders. You know what I'm saying? And so we covered them all. We covered all the World Series contenders. Come back next week for another baseball video, and check in throughout the week because I do all sorts of sports. The channel name is Sports Fanatic. If you like the video, like and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. And that is all that we have for you today. Go forth and spread beauty and light. Thank you very much.